Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. Should the Raiders trade for Seahawks running back Kenneth Walker? Type trade, type pass. My answer is going to be coming up here in just a little bit. Raider Nation, good morning. It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, I'm going to get into the latest trade rumors around Seahawks running back Kenneth Walker. And then I'm going to give you my interesting theory to why, I don't know, maybe some of these rumors are starting to pop up here. Because y'all know, I like to play chess when everyone else is playing checkers. So let's first talk about the Walker trade rumors. They kind of popped up over the weekend. And I'm somebody, when I do this show, I always want to be able to talk about trending topics that are important to the nation. And there were a lot of trade rumors around Kenneth Walker over the weekend coming to the Las Vegas Raiders. I will sit up here and I'm going to look at all y'all dead in the eyes and go, I'll admit, I have not seen this reported or talked about by any credible source. What I literally think is happening is somebody is looking at the Kenneth Walker Seahawks situation, looking at the Raiders and Pete Carroll, looking at the Raiders running back room and going, this team still clearly needs a running back after the signing of Raheem Mostert, so maybe Pete Carroll and this regime could go out and they could trade for a Kenneth Walker who's only got 1 year left on his deal. Because let's face the facts, this might be the worst running back room in the NFL, something that I said plenty of last offseason. I get it. You can still improve in the draft. It's why I'm not panicking, because this is a extremely deep draft class. However, though, what if Kenneth Walker, who played multiple seasons with Geno Smith, what if the Raiders are legitimately considering bringing him in? I know that he had a little bit of a down year last season for his standards, has battled some injuries, no doubt about it. But anytime a player is in the final year of their deal and the regime that drafted them is no longer the regime that is in place, you have to be able to sit up here and go, okay, I can understand that a trade is possible. What's also possible is relationships, connections. We know how important that is to this regime and all regimes in the NFL. Pete Carroll drafted Kenneth Walker out of Michigan State, 41 overall, back in the 2022 NFL draft, and he played with Geno Smith from 2022 to 2023, the 2 years that I would say the best years that Geno Smith looked. Now, when you look at the stats up on screen, the very bottom line are his career stats. 2022, solid year as a rookie. One of the stats that Chugs found that I thought was interesting, and I like this because when you talk about a running back, I want somebody that still shows me some explosion. And one of the reasons why I was out on Najee Harris is, well, I can get 4 yards per carry anywhere. Kenneth Walker, as you can see in 2022, 10 carries of 20-plus yards. In 2023, that number went down a little bit. In 2024, I get it. Only 5, yes, less carries overall. But I think if you talk to a lot of Seahawks fans, they would tell you Walker's a good back. But as the season would go on, little nagging injuries would pop up from time to time. I will also say, if you're going to trade for a running back that is this deep in the running back draft class, and you're going to go out and get a Kenneth Walker, you have to also have the ability to at least show me that you can catch the football. And last year, Walker did do a good job of that, and I think it was also the offense. But when I went back and I watched a little bit of tape on Walker, I do think a lot of the receptions, a lot of the targets, a lot of the yards that he ended up getting were because of how bad that offensive line was for Seattle, and they tried to figure out ways to run the football through the air because they were getting blown up on the interior time and time again. So I started this show asking this question. And I'm going to ask it to y'all again because I know that not everybody probably went down in the comments section and gave me an answer. So y'all are about to get hit with a YouTube ad break. While that ad is playing, I want you to scroll on down and type trade, type pass. What should the Raiders do for Kenneth Walker? I'm going to sit up here and I'm going to look at all y'all and tell you that I am going to pass on the idea of trading for Kenneth, and it's not because that I don't think he's a good player. I actually like the physicality type of runner. I think he fits kind of that Pete Carroll running back, but he missed 6 games the last season. He's missed 10 the past 3 years, and when you watch him, when you are as physical as a running back that Walker is, that does take a little bit of wear and tear on your body. And I mean, the dude looks like an absolute alien, I get it, but still, that wear and tear is kind of gone there. But the fact that this draft is so loaded with running back talent. And then here's like the cherry on top of why I wouldn't do it. You also have to pay him. Like, there's not going to be a running back. No agent is going to say, sure, you can trade for my running back, and then not give him a brand new deal, you're going to have to give up draft capital. And I think you might be surprised on how much it could potentially cost. I sat down with our Seahawks people here at Chat Sports, and I said, tell me how much you think it's going to cost to go out and trade for Kenneth Walker. So not only do you got to make a trade, then you got to also go out and pay him in a draft class here that is super, super deep at the running back position. For that reason, I am going to pass on Kenneth Walker. If you're a Raiders fan, though, and saw all those trade rumors over the weekend, I'm a Raider fan just like all y'all. It interests me. It's why I wanted to make this show. But I also want to be able to sit up here and be able to provide analysis and be able to tell you why I think the way that I do and why I wouldn't want to go out and trade for Kenneth Walker. But because, I don't know, like I like rumors. I like looking at the tea leaves. I think when you see how I end this show, you're going to be surprised. Hit that subscribe button. If you don't like the content that I provide, unsubscribe. Or you can tune into today's live show at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you don't like that show, then you can unsubscribe. Let's talk about this trade, though. So this is a trade that when I asked our Seahawks guy here at Chat Sports, and I talked to a few other people, originally he said, I would like a third-round pick. And I'm like, a third-round pick's just not even realistic to me. So a fourth and a fifth rounder. So the Raiders end up getting Kenneth Walker. The Seattle Seahawks get our 108 pick and pick 143. I'm going to be honest. I'm not interested in this trade whatsoever. So to me, I said this would be the absolute max that I'd be willing to offer Walker. And I wouldn't be surprised if Seattle laughed at me in the face. But even me sitting up here saying, like, even if I offered this trade that I'm about to show y'all, I still wouldn't want to pay Kenneth Walker a lot of money. Like, I would offer him a contract very similar to what the Minnesota Vikings kind of just did for Jordan Mason, where you're like, all right, I'm going to give up a 6th-round pick. I'll give you a 2-year deal for $12 million, and that's how I would go about this. But you're also going to take on Zamir White from me, and you're only going to get 1 out of my 3 6th-round picks, and it's going to be my worst pick because, to me, if Seattle does this trade, they're trying to move on from him because they know that they're not going to be bringing him back. At least that's my thought process. But coming up here, I'm somebody that when I see a rumor go out, I always think about all of the other potentials that could happen. And the number one reason why I want y'all to tune into today's show is my theory of the Kenneth Walker trade rumors, because relationships are important. And I'm going to leave it like that. Before I tell you what my theory is here in just a moment, huge shout out to our sponsor, PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app out there. Chugs and I use PrizePicks all the time, whether it's for March Madness, whether it's for Raiders season long, more, less than, you can get all that action over on PrizePicks. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Today's Tuesday, and I don't know if y'all know this, PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You actually don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So if that all sounded good to you, download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. If you want a good opening day lineup, and I grew up playing baseball my entire life, and for those that don't know, I'm a big Mets fan. So I asked our Chat Sports baseball guy here, I said, give me a more or less lineup for opening day. And here's the lineup that he shot out there at me. Bottom line is this. If you're like a casual baseball fan, that's okay. I actually consider myself a casual baseball fan. But being able to sit down, watch a game for 9 innings, and actually be really invested in that game in today's day and age, it doesn't happen very often, but it's why I love PrizePicks. So if you want to get started, baseball, basketball, football, they have literally almost every sport there. That link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments and down in the description of today's show. So coming up next here on the Raiders Report, I'm going to get into my Kenneth Walker trade rumors theory. So hear me out. Let's walk through this one a little bit. And I'm only throwing out a theory because if I was the Raiders, this is what I would do. And it's not a disregard to Kenneth Walker, but Kenneth Walker wouldn't be the running back on the Seattle Seahawks that I think that the Raiders would actually go out and try to trade for. So hear me out. If the Raiders did call Seattle about Kenneth Walker, maybe it was just to see what they value him at. Because if you're a team and you pick up the phone and you call, hey, I want XYZ player, teams are going to know that you want XYZ player and that price tag is going to go up. But if you call asking about another player to see how that team values him, Kenneth Walker, when in reality, you're actually interested in Zach Charbonnet, running back for the Seahawks. So what if you call about Kenneth Walker, find out that the Seahawks aren't all that crazy about Kenneth, or they end up loving him, and then in return you're like, well, what do you also think about Zach Charbonnet? My point is, to me, I would call the Seahawks about Kenneth Walker because I'm actually interested in Charbonnet. And I bring that up because we know how important relationships are to this Raiders regime, and there's no doubt Kenneth Walker has some relationships with this coaching staff, but he doesn't have the most relationships, or he's not the running back on Seattle that has the most connections with the silver and black. Obviously, the first one we're going to talk about is Pete Carroll, and Pete Carroll's got a connection with Walker. But I would also sit up here if this exact same scenario happened to the Raiders, and I would go, all right, so we drafted Kenneth Walker in the second round of 2022. That means we like him a lot. Well, actually, they went out and they drafted Zach Charbonnet in the second round, 52 overall in 2023. That tells me that they kind of like that little bit of smash and dash type of running back. Charbonnet can catch the football a little bit better. Walker's a little bit more between the tackles. But I would also sit up here and go, well, they actually value Charbonnet more maybe than they do Walker, or else they wouldn't have taken a running back in round 2. So I look at that and I go, all right, well, Pete Carroll already likes him. That tells me in a rookie year, played in 16 games, started in 3. That is a big, big-time deal for somebody like Carroll. But that's not even the biggest connection. The biggest connection here is Raiders offensive coordinator Chip Kelly. And for those that do not know, Zach Charbonnet actually played 2 years under Kelly at UCLA in 2021 and in 2022. And in both of those years, he was used very heavily. But in that final year, in only 10 games, the usage that Chip was getting out of Charbonnet, I don't think that we can say that goes unnoticed. Chip Kelly viewed and valued him as a every down running back between the tackles, being able to catch the football, and I would imagine that that's something that they would want yet again, and that's just not the role that I think Kenneth Walker can play in, where I do think Charbonnet is much better in that role than Walker. And then the final reason is Tom Brady. Like, when I can sit up here and tell y'all that a running back or a player's got a Pete Carroll connection, a Chip Kelly connection, a Tom Brady connection, even a Geno Smith connection, a light bulb's got to go off in your head and be like, all right, that actually does have some legs to it. And he played at Michigan from 2019 to 2020, only 2 years. Obviously, there's no Tom Brady overlap there, but I know for a fact, and y'all know for a fact, how much Brady values what the Michigan program teaches. He says it all the time of, one of the reasons why he doesn't like when kids transfer is because you don't get to learn a program. You don't get to learn how to be a good teammate. You don't get to learn how to do a lot of that stuff. And I get it. Charbonnet did end up transferring. But when you go to Michigan, Tom Brady notices, and he loves that type of stuff. And when you're recruited by Jim Harbaugh, somebody that's in this division, somebody that is very wildly respected by everybody across the NFL, but also very widely respected by Tom Brady, by Mark Davis, that all of those reasons there of why, if the Raiders pull off a trade for a Seahawks running back, I'm going to be real. I don't think it's going to be Kenneth Walker. I think they would try to go out and do it for Zach Charbonnet. So the Raiders, they value relationships. And Zach, he's got plenty of them with this regime. A chest to checkers move would be to check on the price of Kenneth Walker because you're actually interested in Charbonnet. If this trade ends up going down, you already know. We're going to be live on the Raiders Report. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure those notifications are turned on. Charbonnet, I'm love to see you here in Las Vegas.